Whatever you need.
Welcome back to another episode of Zoomin with Humans. It's been a while since our last one because we're all back at work here now. But it's great to get to put a face to the name as well. How are you, Caylee?
I am good. As good as you can be in the weird world right now, but I'm pretty good. I just released an album.
Awesome. I guess that's giving you a bit of positivity in, I guess the crazy world we're in at the moment.
Yeah, man. Being able to release music, that means so much to me in a time that just feels so abnormal in comparison to anything I've experienced. It's comforting to me, so I'm hoping it's comforting to other people.
It definitely is. So tell us how you've been keeping yourself busy.
Oh, Lord. It's mostly plants. I've been gardening like crazy, writing for the new record. This is my studio rig behind me. But yeah, just working towards already writing the next record. I'm kind of getting excited, working on that already. And kind of riding that high, gardening a bunch. I mean, just really trying to just ground myself, kind of get centered. The way that the world is, I feel like we start running so fast and so hard all the time. This time has kind of shown me like, wow, you don't know balance at all. So I'm learning balance, which I don't know how you learn that, but I'm learning.
I think everyone's learning a bit of that. It's kind of a nice reset for the world. I think we're all working a bit too hard, too much, and just a step back.
I read this thing that said, while we're all in the midst of rushing back into everything that we already did, let's try to take a second to remember what it is that we really need to rush back into and what we don't need at all. Yeah. And I was like, wow, very true. Okay.
It is very true. Now, we love your music here, especially your track Redhead. So, in fact, it was actually number 7 on our top 20 most played here last week.
Woo! Yes, I love that.
So you worked on the track with Reba McEntire, who is a legend in herself. How was that experience? Was she someone that you always wanted to work with, or was it just sort of an accident?
Oh yeah, it wasn't an accident, but it was definitely this weird thing planned by God. I feel like. I've always loved Reba. My nickname in high school for a couple of years was Fancy because I did this cover over this like really bad karaoke track to Fancy by Reba. And then all my friends started calling me Fancy. And I took it with pride though. Now when I listen back, I'm like, gosh, those karaoke tracks, I could have paid more than $1.50 for it, But anyways, working with Reba, finally getting to work with this woman that I've sang her songs over and over in my life. It was unreal. She's the weirdest mixture in the most perfect, beautiful way of a person. She has this warm, kind-hearted spirit about her, but also you feel like you need to be on your toes around her because she's Reba, like she's a boss, So it's all the things you kind of want to be, I feel like, as a woman and as just a boss and a businesswoman especially. And she's all of that, but still sweet as sugar. I don't know how it happens. I don't know how God puts all that in a person, but he did with that one.
Well, she certainly is incredible. I think she's high on everyone's bucket list. And it's an amazing song. And I will say it's not the first time it's been in the top 20 here.
I love that. That makes me so happy.
It's been in the last few weeks, actually. So it
made me feel so good. I need to come visit really soon.
You do when borders open back up.
Yeah.
When you're in here next, you'll have to come into the studio. And we'll get to finally meet you. You've got some questions?
Oh yeah, my first question was who or what got you into singing?
That's a hard one because there's so many different people. I feel like probably the catalyst out of all of it was going to my first concert. I was 13 and I went to see Loretta Lynn. And man, I begged my dad to go listen to her. And my dad was like, why do you want to see an old country artist? And I was like, I need to see her. So I went and saw her and I was obsessed. She was maybe 80 years old. No, she was 78, 76, somewhere around her late 70s when she was performing. And she pulled this chair out on stage at one point, this big blue throne. And she sat down for half of the show and we still were all on the edge of our seats, listening and watching her perform. And I just remember there was this magical feeling about that connection that she had with the crowd. And she wasn't dancing, she wasn't doing anything. She was just telling stories. And that's what we connected to. And I was like, you know what? I want to be a part of this magic. Whatever this is that makes people feel like this high that I get when I walk out of this place, I want to make this for people, and I want to be in this. And I feel like that was probably it.
I had the exact same moment, but with Melissa Etheridge a few years back.
Melissa Etheridge, I would kill to see her.
She was incredible, and the exact same thing. Like, she wasn't dancing, she didn't have 10 different outfit changes, but she just captivated the whole auditorium with just her guitar. And like, even in the break, she'd like flip her guitar over and just play a beat and sing while her band went and had a break, and she'd still play. And yeah, it was incredible.
There's something about that. There's this thing in people, you can train for years, but every now and then you meet people that they have this thing, and you're like, I don't know what this is, but it's something, and it just draws us in. Like, keep doing whatever it is.
Yeah. Kind of like you, actually.
Oh, thanks.
So obviously it's not an easy industry to be in. If you had to describe one trait that someone that to be successful in this industry, a trait you have to have, or what you think you have to have, in one word, what would you say?
Tenacity.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, it's just, you know how you see houses that are overgrown with ivy? Well, It normally will take 3 years normally for ivy to take off once you plant it. It'll take about 3 years, and then you can't get rid of it. And I feel like the tenacity that like ivy has, like that, just constantly climbing up whatever it shouldn't be. Like, I think that that's kind of, as women in this industry, you have to. I mean, the squeaky wheel gets the oil is the old saying. It's, showing up every single day. That's one thing Reba told me was, I was like, how do you do it? We were standing backstage at the Ryman, and I was like, how do you do it? 40 years, and you're still at the top. You're still Reba. Like, how do you do it and you still want to do it? And she was like, I just show up. She was like, even if I don't want to that day, I show up. And I was just like, yeah, it's that tenacity of, I'm not giving up, and you can't make me. So move aside, I just love seeing other women in the industry, and not just in the artistry seat, songwriters, anyone working in the radio stations. People wonder how to get more women on the radio. And I'm like, hire more women at the stations. So yeah. I'm just happy to see y'all on here.
That's actually been a big part of what we've been doing over the last couple of months. We're trying to have every show have a male and a female voice on. And it's the same thing. It's, we pride ourselves on having that mix of male and female artists. We're not afraid to play them back to back. Like, it's something we are really big on here as well. You got another one?
Yeah, my second question was, what does it feel like being on stage, like performing to your fans?
It's this weird thing where I don't go into autopilot, but I go into this higher place in myself. That sounds odd, but I don't know. It's this weird kinetic energy. You feel it when you're on stage. And that's why I always tell people with this album, I just want it to be vulnerable enough and open enough and honest, even if it's not a pretty story, because crap happens in this world, and in relationships, all of it. And I just hope that in this album, I've made this safe place for people to just react and feel emotions and dance and cry and feel sexy to one song and bawl about the next one. I just wanted to create that in the album so that I could create that in shows. Because when you're on stage and someone is singing along to your lyrics, or even if they don't know the song, but they're just jamming out, it just changes the whole experience for me and all of my band and anyone in the room. If anyone gives energy, it's received. And being on stage is just like a huge energy force field. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm sorry, Lily.
That's great. Do you remember your first show?
My first show ever?
How you felt in that moment where you first did your first gig, even if it was just a pub gig or doing karaoke? Do you remember was there something that caught you and you're like, all right, this is it?
I remember, so the first time I sang in front of anyone, I was 13. I was singing in my hometown. It's a tiny, tiny town, one street light. And on the corner of that little middle block in the middle of town, the main town street, I guess, we put up this little projector and people went up there and was singing. It was a karaoke competition. And I sang I Will Survive. And I got to, first I was afraid, I was petrified. And I just completely flopped. I was so embarrassed. I was mortified. But the beautiful thing was that kids and adults in the crowd started singing along with me again until I got back on my feet and I could finish the song. And I went home and just bawled my eyes out. And my dad came to the door and I was like, I'm never singing again, ever. And he was like, well, this guy that watched you at this show told me about this other place that you could go sing classic country music. You'd get a full band and stuff. You wouldn't have to sing the karaoke track. And I remember just, I was so dramatic. I'm never singing again. And then I opened the door up like 10 minutes later and I was like, where's the place? You know, where's the place that we can play? And I don't know. It was even embarrassing myself like that. There was still something about getting up there. I was like, wow, that felt kind of good. I like doing that. Let's try it again. And yeah, I just kept trying.
I guess that's the tenacity thing again. You just got to keep going. I guess without failing occasionally or messing up or being petrified, it sort of wouldn't make the successful moments worth it. It'd be like, oh, well, I've just done that again. But like it made you feel like you've gotten somewhere.
Yeah. The ups, I mean, if we didn't have any downs, life would be a really stupid roller coaster. I mean, if you didn't have the ups and downs, like this would be the most boring roller coaster ever. So bring me the ups and downs, buddy. Give me a corkscrew every now and then.
So what's your plans once once life goes back to normal a little bit?
Well, really, I'm just planning on writing a record in this time, to be honest. I want to go ahead and get a really good head start on the next record, just because I feel creative. But as soon as the world opens back up, I'm hoping that we can go back on the road with Reba and then finish that tour, go into the Luke Bryan tour of 2021. I hope that we don't have to reschedule anything else. Fingers crossed. I just want us to have a little bit of normalcy. I want that communion we have at shows. I really miss that.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all holding out one way or another to get back to live music, whether you're a fan or an artist. I know I'm certainly going a little bit nuts over here. Well, thank you so much for your time and best of luck with everything. Next time you're in Brisbane, come into the studio.
Oh, thank you, Tari. I've never been, and I really want to come. So as soon as the world opens back up, I really hope I get to come see y'all. Thank you, Lily, too. It was good to meet y'all.
Thank you.